What's up, YouTube fans? Today we're going to take a look at the Hasbro Studio Series 86 Exosuit Spike Wiki. It's hard to say. So, yeah, this guy is available at retail right now. You can actually pick this up from the Chosen Prime if you don't feel like hunting him down in the store. They have him available for order. And he does come mistransformed in the package like this. So you want to take the arms, the shoulders, rotate those down, and then bring the arms down. And now he's ready for some action here. Now today we're going to do something a little bit different. I am going to review this guy, but we're also going to do a comparison kind of at the same time with the MP21 Exosuit Spike here. And they are pretty different, at least in terms of size. So you can see it is much shorter. Now I know there's people out there who are thinking of using this guy in their Masterpiece collection because he looks pretty darn good. So that's why I'm doing this comparison. Obviously, I'll still do some of the things we do with our normal reviews, like go through the transformation, go through articulation, but some things we're going to do together, like look at the paint, like look at the articulation, look at the alt modes. So just know that going in, it's going to be a little bit different than usual. As I always mention with these comparisons, I try to be as objective as possible, but of course, there's subject to be involved when you compare stuff like this. So if I choose one or the other in a category and you prefer the one I didn't pick, then you win. I really try to do these to help people make a decision. In this specific case, try to help people decide, do they want to try to hunt this guy down, or is this going to suffice for their Masterpiece Spike and in the exosuit. So without further ado, let's get started. We'll start off with the accessories. So here are the accessories you get with this guy. This guy doesn't come with any. This is actually an accessory for MP21 Bumblebee, so you don't get anything with it. But these can actually be plugged in here. If you rotate the arms around, you can actually use them here, almost like a gun blast or whatever blast effect. And let me see, do they fit here? No, they don't fit there. So you can use those kind of as a blast effect or whatever, or maybe he's taking off, you could do something like that. This guy doesn't come with anything, so he is going to win on accessories, but pretty neat little inclusion there for the Studio Series 86. Now, as far as gimmicks go, they both do actually have a rotating head. This one actually rotates for transformation, but there's an additional little lever here. If you move that lever, it does rotate the head. That's a really cool little gimmick. I wasn't expecting something like that. And the head is actually pretty well done. If you look at the head on the original, you can actually take off this little piece of glass. And it's not that well done. It just kind of looks too small. I don't know. It just doesn't look right. But this head's really well done. It doesn't have that gimmick. It does have this gimmick, so you can rotate it up. But it does. You can't rotate the head, and there's no little lever back there. So we're going to give gimmicks over to Studio Series 86 as well. Just including that is kind of neat. I wasn't expecting that. So there you go. All right, next we'll talk about the cartoon accuracy. In order to do that, we'll put the G1 cartoon image there so you can look for yourself. And I was really kind of surprised when I saw this myself because the Studio Series actually nails the colors. This lighter blue with the little blue accent right here. This one's actually missing that. They both have the red, they both have the yellow on the chest, but then the blue accent there. And then the legs, it's blue down to the toe, whereas the Masterpiece is blue all the way down. So this actually should be white in the actual cartoon, whereas this one is white. It's missing a little blue accent here, but overall it seems like they nail the colors on Studio Series, and overall it does look a lot more in terms of the proportions like the image there. Coming to the back here, it's not really, it's hard to tell because we don't have an image of the back. You have some gaps here on the back of this guy, but for the most part they both have the little jetpack. They're both pretty compact. So I'm going to give accuracy over to Studio Series. I think they nailed it on this. All right, next we'll talk about the sculpt on these two, and this is also kind of interesting. Now the Masterpiece is very clean and smooth from the front. There isn't a lot of stuff hanging out. There's not a lot of gaps. On the Studio Series, you have a lot of little holes like that, holes on the back of the legs, just little gaps here and there. And it is a $12 figure, so I'm not that surprised. But on the Masterpiece, everything's kind of filled out. There isn't really any holes. The only thing that's a little bit weird on the Masterpiece are these, which turn into the wheels. They figured out a different way to do it. They just kind of integrated it there, but that left a gap there. So I'm going to get a sculpt over to the Masterpiece. I think they just did a little cleaner job, and they have fewer waffles and gaps. All right, next we'll talk the paint on these two, and this should be relatively quick. For the Studio Series, you have the painted head, fully painted. You have the red paint there, the yellow there, the little blue mark there. For some reason, the thighs are painted. Just those pieces. I'm not really sure why. And then up here, the blue here. And the rest is white plastic and blue plastic. For the Masterpiece, you've got a fully painted head, the red here, the yellow here. This chest piece is fully painted here. The legs are all plastic. And coming to the back, there is some blue paint here on those boosters, and then a little more blue paint here on these. So you get just a bit more paint on the Masterpiece. So we're going to give paint over to the MP. Next, we'll talk about the build quality. And I don't really want to waste any time. They both actually feel pretty good. I've always had this problem where the arms pop off if you just rotate them in the wrong direction because it's on a ball joint. It never had good fitment, even when it was new. But other than that, there's not really any problems. I mean, it's solid. This is back when the Masterpiece were just solid chunks. They felt really good. Same for this one. Everything's solid. Nothing's popping off. Everything feels good. So I'm just going to give them a tie on build quality. I don't think either of them have any issues with build. All right, now let's take a look at the articulation. In order to do that, we'll articulate each one individually. So for the Studio Series, the head is on the swivel, so it goes back and forth. You can rotate the dome as well. So if you wanted to look more like he's actually looking that way, you can. The shoulders go up and down on this joint here. You have a rotation here at the elbow. There's also this joint here that lets you get the arm up. So you can actually get some running poses due to that because you've got that joint. So that's kind of interesting. And then this arm, obviously, that swivels, but that's part of the transformation. No ab crunch, nothing like that. You have the legs go up to there, back to there. These are all ball joints. Out to the side. You have a single jointed knee. It's on a ball, so it gets up to there. And then nothing at the ankles. For the MP, you don't have a rotation at the head. You can rotate this dome, but the head itself doesn't rotate. The shoulder, and you can look up on it, but it tends to look a little bit weird because of the head. That's mainly for transformation, but you can go up on that. It just doesn't really help with the articulation here. And yeah, this is one of the issues with articulation is that joint. But arms go up and down on this joint here, and you can get it in and out on this joint here. You can get the arms up due to that ball joint, but it's just a little funny the way it works. You just kind of have to get in the right position. He does have little teeny hands here, but these look a little bit more realistic because it's his whole fist, whereas this is a teeny tiny little top of the fist. So a little strange, but there's no articulation there anyway. I just wanted to point that out. That's annoying. You have nothing at the waist here. You have hip skirts on the side. So the legs go up to there. Back to here, hindered by its own sculpt. Out to the side, those are on ball joints. I guess you have a rotation here. Does this have a rotation? Yeah, this has a rotation as well. So I'm sorry I missed that. You have a bend at the knee, but it barely does anything. It just is kind of limited. Now, if you fold this down, you maybe get a little bit more. No, not really. So basically nothing at the knee. The foot can go back and forth, but no side to side. And this is really for transformations. So it doesn't really gain you anything. So in a bizarre, shocking twist, the Studio Series actually has better articulation. So we're going to give articulation over to Studio Series. All right, next we'll talk about transformation. In order to do that, I'm actually going to transform this since this is a review for this guy. So let's go ahead and transform him. So rotate the arms to the other side. I'm going to take the head, rotate that so that you have the white parts on the outside. These are going to fold inwards and to the back, and they're going to fit right in there. So they actually just tab in to the side there. And then these are going to rotate to the back. All right, so same on this side. Fold this up, tab it in, and then rotate the booster to the back. Right, for these lower legs, we're going to take these and rotate the legs around at the knee. Fold this down, and this is going to tab in. There's two little slots right here are going to tab into the back of that knee. So you got to get this folded up. Sometimes it moves on you, but basically get this folded up and tabbed into those. Same on this side. Rotate that up. And then tab it in. And then these are going to tab in together on the back. All right, there they both are in their alt modes, and it was kind of interesting. The MP actually comes down to a smaller size, which is funny because it's a bigger robot mode. So it's the SS is actually taller, longer, and wider. So that's a little interesting transformation trick for the MP. Also, I think the transformation itself is relatively simple for both. There's nothing really frustrating or overly complex. So I'm going to give them a tie on transformation. I think they're both fine. Now, the SS has these little bits here that you can put on here, and that does kind of add to the look of it. But when you come to the back here, you know, the legs still look like legs even though they're folded up. The arm's still sticking out on the top. And if we put the cartoon image there so you can take a look, the MP definitely nails that cartoon look a little bit better. It compacts down to this vehicle. So I'm going to give transformation a tie. Engineering over to the MP, I think they just nailed the ability to get it down to this vehicle. And then I'm going to give alt mode, especially because it looks like the cartoon, but also just looks like a vehicle, over to the MP. So the final factor on this is the cost. The Studio Series comes in at $12. The Masterpiece, now it's kind of hard to say what the price is. It was packaged with MP21 Bumblebee as part of a package set. So it was $80 at retail for that MP21 Bumblebee. How much of that went towards this? It's very hard to say. It could be somewhere around $20, but since we don't have a price for this guy, I can't really judge the cost here. I think probably this is costing more, more than $12. But because we don't have a price, I'd be guessing, and there's no way for me to differentiate the cost. So we're going to give them a tie here since I can't differentiate them. So final thoughts on the comparison. You can see the score there, and it's going to end up in a tie. And I'm actually pretty surprised that Studio Series, a $12 figure that's available at retail in stores, is holding its own against a Masterpiece. Now, this is an older Masterpiece. Maybe that says that this wasn't the best at the time, but either way, it's still a pretty good figure. Now, because it came packaged with Bumblebee, we couldn't get a cost on it. But I would imagine if we were able to extrapolate a cost, that the Studio Series would win on cost, which would therefore allow it to win this comparison. But since we couldn't do that, we couldn't. We ended up in a tie. So at those prices, if you don't have this guy, I would say this is probably a good stand-in, good enough to fit in your Masterpiece collection and just be your Exosuit Spike. If you already have this guy and you're like, hey, should I replace him? I don't know. Maybe he's not worth replacing. He's pretty good. So it's kind of a toss-up here. I do recommend this thing. I really do like it. I was impressed about pretty much everything with it. In terms of the accuracy, for a $12 retail figure, they did a phenomenal job with this. So that's it for this review and comparison. Hopefully it helped you decide which way you want to go, or get both if you prefer. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.